right, so the good news just keeps on coming. So, this latest news, and this is from the 21st, so we're on Wednesday. So, a U.S. appeals court on Wednesday upheld a New York oh my God, I cannot read. A U.S. appeals court on Wednesday upheld a New York County's law barring anti-abortion activists from approaching people outside abortion clinics, teeing up potential review by the U.S. Supreme Court. Yeah, that's worrisome. The Manhattan-based Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals said the law adopted last year by Westchester County, New York, was valid under a 2000 Supreme Court ruling that rejected a challenge to a similar law in Colorado. The court said it was bound to follow that ruling unless the Supreme Court expressly overturns it. The lawyers for the plaintiff, sidewalk counselor, and devout Catholic Deborah Vitaglio, acknowledged that their challenge was foreclosed by the Supreme Court ruling, but they have said in court papers that they intend to ask the High Court to overrule that decision and strike down buffer zone laws. Really, sidewalk counselor? Is that anything like quarter preacher? You know, all you do is annoy people without actually, accomplishing anything? Unless the purpose is to annoy people. Of course, in this case, it's not just being annoying, you're being hurtful. Because a lot of the people who go to these clinics, even if they're going for an abortion, they're not skipping down the street excitedly wanting an abortion. This is stuff that's gut-wrenching. So we do not need you pontificating about it. The Westchester County law makes it illegal to get within 8 feet of another person for the purpose of oral protest, education, or counseling within a 100-foot zone around a reproductive health facility. At least 3 U.S. states and several cities and counties have similar restrictions. Lawyers for Vitaglio and Westchester County, which is just north of New York City, did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Vitaglio is represented by Beckett Law, a conservative nonprofit that describes itself as advocates for religious freedom. Now, as usual, I'm pretty sure I know what they mean by religious freedom. Religious freedom means I get to bully whomever the hell I want about my beliefs, because everyone should follow my beliefs because mine is the only correct way to human. That is not religious freedom. Religious freedom is that nobody can force you to follow a certain religion or not follow a religion. You get to do what you want. But the fun part is, and this is the important part, other people get to do that too. It's not just about you. All right. Vitaglio claims the Westchester County law is preventing her from approaching pregnant women outside of abortion clinics to discuss their options in violation of her right to free speech under the U.S. Constitution. Because, of course, doctors don't actually give all the options. They're like, oh, goody, goody, you're here for an abortion. That is not the way any of this works. Abortion is a last resort thing. They've been given other options. And for you to decide that that they do not need an abortion without knowing their circumstance, it's the height of narcissism. And, you really, really should not be allowed around people at all. Okay. In the 2000 case, Hill versus Colorado, the Supreme Court ruled that a nearly identical law was not a regulation on speech, but a regulation of the places where some speech may occur. which is perfectly fine. We have restrictions on speech. I mean, we've always had it. The old example of you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. Well, yeah, you can't cause a panic just for shits and giggles. You cannot go approach a person who already is going through mental anguish and probably physical anguish and telling them that you know better than them and their doctor, their personal situation, because everything should have a blanket response. You know, if you were in that position, whatever position that these women find themselves in that require an abortion, and you decide not to have one, great. That is your prerogative. But you cannot tell people, especially people who you know nothing about their personal situation, what they can and cannot do, what medical decisions they can and cannot take, because you don't know what their situation is. And that should be it. Mind your own damn business. The only people who women should have a conversation with about whether to have an abortion is her doctor, and if she has a support system to go over her options, because this is obviously a very trying time, so sometimes it takes more than one voice to discuss this with. But that is up to the woman to decide who she feels comfortable talking about the situation with, and discuss the pros and cons of every option. A complete stranger who knows butt kiss, except for abortion is bad, doesn't have a say in the matter. That is just, I don't know why these people think that they're actually saving anybody. What if this is a situation where both the woman and the fetus would end up dying? You do not know this. You're so concerned about the damn fetus, you don't even think about the fetus when you're doing this. You just assume that that giving birth is a good thing no matter what. We could have the fetus dying at childbirth, for or shortly after childbirth. And so now, even if the woman did survive childbirth, they have to live with watching their newborn child die, which they did not want to do, which is why they wanted an abortion. But they were forced to because numbnuts seem to think that because they can't think of situations where pregnancies should be terminated, then obviously none exist. Ugh. In Wednesday's case, Vitaglio has argued that Hill was wrongly decided and that it clashes with more recent precedent. The Supreme Court in a 2014 case struck down a Massachusetts law establishing a 35-foot buffer zone around abortion clinics, but the court did not mention the Hill decision. Last year, an Ohio-based U.S. appeals court temporarily blocked a Kentucky court's 10-foot buffer zone, citing the 2014 Supreme Court decision. A Philadelphia-based appeals court is currently considering a challenge to a 20-foot buffer zone adopted by Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So that's all I have with this article, but still. Buffer zones wouldn't be needed if asshats didn't feel like they're so self-important that they have to tell complete strangers what medical care they should seek. And this is for people who actually are going to these clinics for abortions. These clinics do more than that. So just that you're assuming. So first off, these people are assuming that every woman who goes into these clinics is getting an abortion. They could just be weighing their options. They might have just found out they were pregnant, or they might be just going in to get contraceptives. You don't know that. Unless the woman is obviously pregnant. And even then, you still don't know that she isn't going for a pregnancy check. That instead of, she might not have health insurance, she could get free health care, and she might be going to, make sure that everything is going all right with the pregnancy. So these people are not just harassing those who are who are going for an abortion. They're harassing everybody because they don't know who's actually getting an abortion. There are plenty of people who go to these clinics who aren't. It's just that they only think about abortion. So, because their mind is so rotted with abortion being bad, that they're so hung up on that it doesn't dawn on them that these clinics do other things, because they've demonized these clinics so much that it doesn't occur to them that they might actually be providing a helpful service. Granted, abortions are a helpful service, an unfortunate one, but they're still a helpful service. But they do much more than that. It reminds me of this person who had a license plate, which spelled out "I love DNC." DNC standing for dance. But since that's also an abortion procedure, a hilarious note was left on her car, saying how she's going to hell, what a horrible person she is, because she loves abortion so much, when that had nothing to do with her license plate. That is how insane these people are. They are so hateful towards people they do not know and whose circumstances they don't know, but they're so hateful because a procedure exists that they don't like. And here's something that will shock you all. People who are pro-choice generally don't like abortion either. People who have abortions don't like abortions. They get it done because they have to get it done. It's like telling a person who had to go in for whatever surgery that, oh, you must like surgery so much. No, it's because it's a medical procedure that needs to get done. This has nothing to do with whether someone likes something or not. It's about what is best for that person in that situation. And it has absolutely nothing to do with any of these busybodies who are sticking their nose in their business and without knowing even one iota of a fact. Because like I said, they're harassing people who aren't even having an abortion. They're actually harassing people who are going there for standard medical care. So, yeah. When I say they don't know the first fact of what they're talking about, they don't. They don't even know if these women are getting abortions. And for those women who are, again, this is not something that they're skipping down the aisle excitedly wanting an abortion. This is something that they had to agonize over, that something went horribly wrong and they need to have an abortion. Or they suffered a miscarriage and they need to clean everything out of there. Again, that's technically an abortion. But guess what? If it was a miscarriage, the baby's already dead. No more fetus. So again, I fail to see what you're accomplishing by harassing women at abortion clinics. This is why abortion clinics have chaperones, to prevent people from harassing women for the simple crime of needing medical care, needing reproductive care. And like I said, not all of it happens to be an abortion. People get harassed for no reason simply because they go to an abortion clinic, simply because they go to a reproductive clinic, because they see it as an abortion clinic. And no, it's not. Um, I don't know if it's still open, but we used to have I think it was a family planning clinic. Didn't do abortions, but because Planned Parenthood did, and you know, they the right wing got their denizens up into a lather. They were picketing the family planning clinic, a clinic that doesn't even do abortions, because they've been taught that reproductive health equals abortion, where that is far from the case. That could be an outcome, that could be an option, but that's not the only thing reproductive centers do. And it is so beyond disgusting that these people will line up at abortion clinics. Oh, I'm just doing what the right wing wants me to do. Lining up at these reproductive clinics and harassing women for existing. I mean, again, why? Even if they were having an abortion, this is not something that they've not thought about. This is not something where they're skipping down the line thinking, oh, goody, 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 today is my abortion. That is not how this works. And it is just maddening that so many people seem to think that that is how it works. But then again, we're living in a world where there are male politicians who think that ectopic pregnancies can be properly implanted into the uterus, as if they know what they're talking about. Spoiler alert, no, that's not how it works. So, proof that these people do not know what they're talking about. And and this is not your business. The only person who has a business with that woman talking about her specific issues is the doctor and whatever significant other she has. Because if she's in a stable relationship, of course they should have a say in it. Ultimately, it's her body, and she gets to decide ultimately whether she wants to go through it. But those are the only people who it's their business to care about her situation. Nobody else should have any say. You want to have a say in your own pregnancy? Fine, you should. You should have a say in your partner's pregnancy if you're in a stable relationship. Absolutely. You do not get a say in some stranger who you know nothing about their situation, simply because you feel like you would never be in a position to get an abortion. Which, and I think I've mentioned this before, many people who claim to be anti-abortion, I should say anti-choice, many of the people claim to be anti-choice, turns out they'll get an abortion if they need it. Because what do you know? That has absolutely nothing to do with morality. It has simply to do with what is happening in what is your situation. So, and for most women, this is not something that This is not something they want to go through. They just something happens that they have to go through it. And this is not something that makes them happy. Do some regret it? Probably. But not because of whatever bullshit you're trying to peddle. Of course they wonder what this life might have been like if they went through with it. But things happen. And it's not up to you to tell a woman what those things are, what acceptable things are, because you don't know their situation and you're not their doctor. You're not their medical provider. Hell, most of these people, I'm sure, have never been to a biology class, let alone near a medical school. So, yeah, not your problem. And I'm sorry if you think that this is murder, but if it's a medical procedure that physicians see as a proper procedure, then you don't have a leg to stand on. You think it's murder? Great. Don't have an abortion under any circumstances. You don't get to make that decision for other people. As I said, there are plenty of women who had this idea that abortion is murder, blah, 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 until they needed one. And all of a sudden, their outlook changed. For them, of course. For everybody else, it's still the same. So, no, you don't get to tell other people how to live their lives. You just don't. Anyway, I've been rambling. So I will see you guys in the next video.